we've been taught to stay calm, push through, and manage ourselves. But what if that's actually the reason so many people feel overwhelmed, disconnected, or burnt out?
I was a very spirited, sensitive, curious child, and I definitely did not have a mind that worked in the same way that it seemed like everyone else around me's worked. The world is not necessarily set up for you. Anxiety actually comes from a fear of rejection. If we extend our exhalation, we lower the heart rate and we signal safety to the nervous system. We actually solve our problems the best when we're in that state.
Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girlz Podcast, where girls isn't about gender, it's about grit. We celebrate the dreamers, the builders, and the difference makers bold enough to start. I'm your host, Jennifer Loehding, and wherever you are tuning in today, we are so glad to have you. All right, my guest today, Nikki Smit, a neurodivergent occupational therapist, speaker, and educator with over 15 years of experience helping people understand what's happening in their bodies and minds, especially when life feels overwhelming. So I'm just going to stop right there because I want her to tell us about her work. And so, Nikki, I just want to welcome you to the Starter Girlz show. I am so thrilled to chat with you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. I'm so excited to be here. What a cool space. It sounds like what you're doing is really, really meaningful. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yes. And we are doing meaningful work. This is what this is all about. I always tell people, you and I didn't get to talk a whole lot before this because I always share this because when people really understand like what the whole mission of this is, they're like, oh, they get excited about it. And they're like, yes, now I know why. But I tell people what this whole show is really about at the end of the day is to create a space to show the world that there are many people doing awesome things, but it's even more personal than that. It's because I've had to go through my own deep transformation. I've been doing that probably for a very, very long time, but most importantly, since 2012, when I was diagnosed with a rare disease. And so I use you guys to lean into those voices for me and help spread this message that I'm trying to spread. And so it's a really great way for me to have good conversation, make sure you guys have fun, and then also inspire and share what's important to me with our audience. So we're glad you're here today. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know that you inspire a lot of people. So
thank you.
Very cool to be here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am excited about talking about your work, and I'm going to tell you why I'm so excited because this is my space. You probably don't know anything about me, but this is my space. And anybody that has been following this show for any period of time knows exactly what I'm passionate about. And everything I do in my work is all about holistic health. It's all about helping people be well in mind and body. I also am a nervous system trainer, and I'm a certified coach in this area, in this area, in this area. And everything I've done, that I've had to do has been because I've had to fix all these parts of me that have just been out in the wild. And so you are in a great space. You're in a perfect space. But I want to open this up because you've been in this for a little while now. And I will kind of want to go back to what led you to this work. But real quick, before we do that, just tell our audience where you are calling in from today so they know where you're at.
Yeah, I am coming to you live today from Singapore, where I am based. I am originally from South Africa, but I've been in Singapore for the last 14 years, so it's home.
Yeah, it's so awesome. You'll have to tell us about Singapore. Like, so many of us don't get to, like I said, experience those cultures. So it's fun to always kind of live through other people that get to do that stuff. So, all right. So back to that question. Tell us a little bit about what led to this work that you're doing today.
Yeah, I think that I always knew that I wanted to make a difference in the world. I always knew that my work had to be meaningful. And so I think I always had a fascination with human development and relationships and with empowering people. But I think that my story probably started even before that. I was a very spirited, sensitive, curious child. And I definitely did not have a mind that worked in the same way that it seemed like everyone else around me's worked. And I had some really wonderful adults in my life who took interest in the things that were interesting to me and got curious about how I worked and who I was, and kind of embraced those sensitivities and curiosities, I think. And one of them was my dad, who was really incredible in kind of coming alongside me. I think maybe it wouldn't have been obvious to other people. I did very well at school. I think a lot of my kind of challenges were maybe not visible to others, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Right.
And so I think that that's really where it started. And I learned how to make things make sense to me. I learned how to take care of myself and regulate my nervous system from a young-ish age. And then, of course, growing up, you then figure out how to be in the world and that the world is not necessarily set up for you. And so I think I landed in this work through a series probably of synchronicities. I think sometimes a job like this finds you. So, yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And then wanted to make a meaningful impact, really care about what we call interpersonal neurobiology, which is a fancy word for the science of relationships.
Yeah.
And just how does the nervous system work, and what does stress mean, and being more kind of caring towards ourselves. And so that's sort of how I ended up here.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I want to say that, because it's not always easy on both sides, right? Being a neurodivergent. And the reason I say that is because I have two of my children are ADHD, my oldest and my youngest. I'm pretty sure my husband and I probably have a little bit of some of this going on. It's so funny. My husband woke up one day and came in and goes, "I think I have ADHD." And we've been like married now like 30 years. And I'm like, "No, not really." Are we just having conversations about this stuff? You know what I mean? I mean, we got three kids, and at least two of them are, but I'm saying this to say, because on both sides, right? Being the parent, having to learn to adapt to the child that is different, but then also being the person that has it. And I love that you said that you had you had great people in the beginning, because I think that is so hard. And I even think about sometimes, like when I was a child, and a lot of what you're talking about, I feel like I can resonate with that curiosity for understanding people and relationships and things and making sense of the
As
world
well.
and all that. Like your brain is, I don't know if yours is like mine. My brain just has to logically make sense of everything. Like if
Everything.
something's not right, even today, if a relationship's not right, I am trying to figure out how I can change, how I can do this differently, how I can problem solve, how I can work it this way.
Yeah.
Like there's just no end to there's just no end. It just
No,
keep
it
trying
can
to
just go on and on and on and on. And I feel sometimes like, well, my partner will say he calls it rigorous self-analysis. And
Yes.
I'll say it's like, I have to turn things inside out and upside down and have to look at it from every corner. And like you want to know it to saturation. And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. And it can also be very exhausting sometimes, right? So it feels like this constant balance and dance between, yes, it's a gift and it's a really amazing thing, and there can be challenges around it. And so how do we contain some of it,
Right.
and work with it? It's really about learning to work with your brain, I think, for all of us, whether you have a
agree.
label or not.
Hey, you're here. So first of all, thanks for tuning in today. And since you're already here, you're probably going to want more of this. So make sure you check out startergirlz.com. That's where you can catch up on any episodes you may have missed. Get signed up for our newsletter so you can stay in the loop on everything we've got going on. And if you're looking to go a little deeper, you can also check out our Starter Girlz Insider community. That's where we take these conversations beyond the podcast with tools, workshops, and real conversation, so you can take what you're learning and actually start applying it. So as I always say, head on over to startergirlz.com and do your thing. Yeah, no, I agree with you totally. And I've said that often. It's like the gift and the curse of, and I don't know about you, but like I feel like I read people well, so I can pick up on things and cues and stuff that maybe other people miss. And it's a great skill, right? Because you can pick up things. Like you're very sensitive, as you say, and which
Yeah.
is not a bad thing. We tend to think sometimes that is. It's not. There are gifts with some of this stuff, right? But
Yeah.
it's like everything too much in excess. Yes, word to contain.
Exactly. And you're taking in all of those cues all the time, right? So
Yeah.
that can be pretty overwhelming, and it
Mhm.
can be incredible sometimes to really notice all the details in a space and really notice all the details about a person.
Right.
And then it can also be like, whoa, I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's really overwhelming.
That's exactly how it is. Whoa, I'm tired. Yeah. You know, it's so funny that you're saying this, Nikki, because I do a lot of networking and obviously I do this podcast and you can tell I have no trouble talking, which is weird because when I'm done, I'm just done. I'm like done, meaning do not
Yeah.
call me. I do not want to
I
talk.
do it well.
I get so overwhelmed. Like, I'm like, okay, I have been analyzing and paying attention to all the cues and the things and picking up on all the, context. I'm tired now. I just need to be done. So I'm with you 100%.
100%. And it's like finding what I do with the people I support is it's finding ways to give ourselves those little breaks as we go, which is not what we're drawn to because we're like
Right.
so enjoying the interaction and the stimulation. But
Yeah.
it's finding like these little micro moments of letting some of the air out and just taking care of yourself along the way, because otherwise it's like one extreme to the other. And that in
Right.
itself is exhausting and
It's the
confusing.
burnout, the crash and
Yeah.
burn. That's what I call it, the crash and burn
Crash and
cycle.
burn.
I have become the master at how to recover from the crash and burn. That's what I call it. Like we do the
What are your tips for us? I'd love to.
well, that's what probably these micro things you're talking about. And funny, I was telling someone the other day, it's sort of kind of like you do that proactive stuff, right? Like you have the proactive, the daily thing that's sort of to help but then you got to have the tools that when the crisis gets in, how do you recover and get out of there? So, but this is a good segue because I really want to talk about your work and I want to talk about what you do. Like what is this like? You don't have to, give us everything here because obviously we want people to call you to work with you, right? That maybe like tell us a little bit what obviously nervous system, but like what does this work like a client coming to you, what does this look like for them? Is this like a single like you're doing single coaching? Are you doing group sessions? Are you doing workshops? Tell us a
Mm.
little bit about your work.
So I do a little bit of everything
Okay.
because of the way my mind is wired. I like to
Yes.
do a little bit of everything. So if you told me that I was just going to see like one-on-one clients
Yes.
forever, I would be
You'd
like,
be bored.
no, there's so many other things for us to do. So I imagine you're the same. But yeah, so I do one-on-one coaching and therapy with
Gotcha.
people. So that's in person or online, depending on where people are based. And then, yes, I'll do little groups as well. I find group work to be hugely beneficial because, of course, we're all supporting and learning from each other. And then I do more and more teaching, which I absolutely love, just workshops and speaking opportunities, because it really is just such a great way to get this message to a broader audience. And I think it makes it more accessible to people as well. And then, yeah, I kind of create like teaching content as well. And so that's kind of how I approach my work.
Yeah.
And most of it is really relationship based. I think, there's so many tips and kind of
Right.
hack out there for nervous system work now. And I think that's great that a lot of it is becoming more accessible to people. And it's so important that we learn to get to know our own bodies and our own nervous system. And we do that in relationship. Little kid, I work a lot with kids as well. And little kids aren't able to regulate their own nervous system.
Right.
They depend on other humans. And the truth is, we all continue to operate that way for the rest of our lives. Most of the time when something happens that's overwhelming to us, we do reach out to others and we depend on each other, and we're wired that way. We need support from our community. So a lot of it is in relationship, and it's through the connection that people then learn to get to know their own body and their own signals, and they learn how to sit with what we call activation or stress more comfortably. Because I think there's this, I want to call it a lie, to be honest, that we've been sold that we're never going to experience. There's going to be a place, some point in our lives where we're going to have perfect calm and ease. I was definitely sold this.
No.
And I've found that to be, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Actually, part of the human experience is challenge. It is difficult emotions, and emotions actually aren't bad.
Right.
They rise and they peak and then they fall. And if we can find a way to be present to those feelings, they actually move on their own. And that's what regulation actually is.
And it's so good for you to say this, because you're absolutely right. We've been taught not to be able to feel, and we've been taught that that if we experience anything, it is devastating. Like, it is just not to happen. Like, and it's interesting because I think, and I just put a clip out yesterday, because I have so many parts of my brand that go in different directions. Like you, I do a lot of different things. And I'm so glad. I want to back up to that and say, I'm so glad you said that, because I actually had somebody send me a message in LinkedIn the other day that read my profile and said something about that I was like waiting for disaster to happen. And I'm like, clearly you do not understand us. You do not understand us, because our brains don't go linear in wonder. We have lots of things happening, and we are good at a lot of different things. It doesn't mean that we're going to,
thank goodness, right? The world needs people like us to operate. It's different brains that are changing the world and are innovating things. Thank goodness you're that way, Jennifer.
You too. I had an attorney. She was a former attorney for the government that came on here that at one time that actually studies, kind of like we're doing, but like studies neurodivergent. And she really was on this whole idea that we're like a superpower. And she basically said, like, I always remember pieces of my episodes, but I remember us discussing this. She said, like, when people like this go into a meeting where 90% of the people get stuck talking about the problem and what happened to lead to the problem, the neurodivergent has already gone from A through F and has the plan. They can't even explain the B, C, D, E, because they're at A through F, and they're like, why are we not moving to the plan, And I was laughing at her because I thought about this, like, every meetings kill me. They kill me. Because we will go in and people will keep hashing about the same thing. And I'm like, we need to move. Let's get the plan in place and move forward. Talking does nothing. And to me, it just seems so simple. It's like, we've got the problem. We know, don't do this again. Let's figure out what didn't work. And now let's move to the next stage. So I love that you said that. But to go back to what you originally said, yes, we have been taught that we are not allowed to have feelings, and that problems are a bad thing. Challenges are a bad thing. And we know, those of us who've been in this space or have had to learn to adapt to this, recognize that it's not a matter of if challenges exist. Challenges are always going to exist. Your job is to learn to navigate through them and be okay in them. And that's where all that nervous system stuff comes in, because it allows us to sit in that and go, okay, this sucks right now. Just let me work this out. Whatever I gotta do. If I got to throw at the wall, if I need to pound my chest, if I need to run, splash water, whatever that is. But just sit in the emotion and process, and you gain so much strength and grit and resilience and clarity from going through that. You know what I mean?
Right. And I would also add that I think what the challenge really is that the resistance to the pain, like, of course, I understand it's not nice to feel these feelings, but part of what's not nice about feeling them is that we resist them. And because we think that we shouldn't, or they shouldn't exist. And if anyone listening has ever experienced a panic attack, that's a pretty good example of that, right? Like, when you can feel it coming and then suddenly it hits you, there is no, if you resist it, it gets
It's awful.
stronger, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can go, okay, I'm having a panic attack, this sucks, this is what's happening, and you ride the wave of it, that's when things shift, actually. So,
And
but we
you
on
are
top
right.
of it.
I have had I have, and that's part of, like when I started studying the nervous system stuff, that stuff, that is why I did that, because I was going through this health stuff and I couldn't get better. And so I was developing these, some of it was some nutritional deficiencies that I was having as well, that were contributing to things. But I was having a lot of anxiety, and that was leading to these intense panic attacks. And I'd start panicking that I'm going to have a
Right.
panic attack, right? And
Right.
so I started doing the nervous system work really as just a way to assist myself through that process. And what's so funny now is because I still deal with health stuff, but sometimes every time it happens, there's always that fear, like, what's going on, right? And I'm learning now, like you're gonna laugh. I told my husband that day, I go, okay, I'm having one of my waves right now. I feel like crap right now. This happens all the time, but we know I keep living through it. Like I keep standing here. So we're just gonna breathe and we're just gonna work ourselves out of this, right? Psychologically, I'm like just telling myself, deal with it. You're okay. Just breathe, doing my whatever I have lots of different things I do too, but, you're right. It's just sometimes it's just sitting in that, and if you fight it, it is so much, because if you freak out, then the core everything gets going, you get in the fight or flight, everything gets moving, and you're just think you're dying.
Yeah.
You know what? It's awful, so I'm with you on that. So,
Yes.
I love this. So, golly, we had so much conversation right there, and like how many minutes? 21 minutes of talking about our professional work here. It's so good. I love what you're
So
doing. So,
cool.
when you do, talking about like nervous system, you mentioned earlier or a little while ago about relationship building. And I think so much of this nervous system too, we talk about like the physical aspects of it, right? Like what it does for the body physically. But that does affect our relational building as well, and I've done workshops on this before where I've talked about,
Mm.
like, high energy people, low energy people, how they process things differently, like, I'm a very high energy person, so like you said, we have to practice calming, whereas, like, maybe a low energy person, when they go into that dorsal vagal, for them, it's like we gotta get them activated, get them moving, the opposite side, but part of that is I brought up kind of the connection between that and, emotional regulation and how we show up, with people around us. And so maybe you want to expand on that a little bit, because I think that's an area people really like to talk about. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
how we can show up healthy for the
Mhm.
world around us,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that it starts with really getting to know yourself and your own patterns and how do you connect in relationship. Is connection something that you move towards, or is
Yeah.
it something that feel scary to you? Because we all have different patterns like that, and you might have some relationships where they feel really safe and some that we kind of pull away from. And I think it's really about getting to know your own signals and your own kind of perception of safety and danger first. We are wired to be in connection. We are wired to be in relationship. And I think understanding that is really helpful because the brain's number one job is to keep you safe.
Right.
That's it. Survival. It's not about joy or happiness at a foundational level, right? It is about survival. And how do we survive? We survive in community. We were designed that way. As mammals, we are the longest, humans are the longest dependent on their caregivers out of all mammals. And that continues throughout our lifespan. So I think often a lot of our anxiety actually comes from a fear of rejection. And so understanding that can give us a lot of self compassion. I think self compassion and curiosity are two of the kind
Yeah.
of magic ingredients in life. And if we can bring that into our relationships more, just understanding that the people that we're interacting with also have those priorities. Their priority is also safety. Their priority is also to avoid rejection. And so they've also got stuff going on, right? So yeah, it's a
I like
dynamic
that.
process.
Yeah, I like that you said curiosity. I feel like that's a buzzword we talk. I feel like everybody, it's kind of the universal thing for everybody that's sort of in that growing space or entrepreneur space. Anybody that's kind of
Hmm.
evolving is the curiosity, right? Because it's really, it should be curiosity about yourself, curiosity about learning about others, curiosity to learn about your situation. I mean, it really is should be at the front of everything and leading, because I
For
think you can,
sure.
when you're coming from that mindset, you can work towards solving or at least attempting to understand, right? You may not be able
Hmm.
to solve every human conditions are very difficult to solve. They're complex. You can't solve humans. You just got to learn to navigate with humans, right? And so I think it allows you the ability to try to seek understanding, and that's where you're
Hmm.
talking about like that empathy comes in, and because if you're not asking questions and trying to learn about somebody, I don't know how you can even try to gain any knowledge and awareness.
For sure. And my mentor always says that when you're in curiosity, you can't be in judgment because it's
True.
different parts of
Yeah.
the brain. And so, yeah, it's just such a kind of different way of viewing things.
Yeah, I just finished up a program with, Shirzad Chamine. He's a I think that's a Stanford professor, I believe, but he does an entire project. It's basically positive intelligence, which you would love. I loved it. But he
Mm.
talks about this sage brain, these 2 sides of our brain, which we left and right, where we got the reptilian brain, which is the
Mhm.
one part of the brain, the logic, right, where our survival. And then when we move out of that, that's when we get into that other part of the brain, I guess, our, the other side, which is our creativity and our,
Mhm.
curiosity,
Mhm.
explore all those things. So his whole premise is these micro tools that you do to actually stimulate that other side of the brain, which is the part we
Mhm.
want to be stimulating. Because this whole thing we've talked about, you brought up, like us not being able to sit in our emotions and being okay with feeling these things that come up for us. That's because that other side of the brain is trying to dominate all the time, and we have to get that other one to be, like, okay with being utilized. And, for so many people, I don't think they are in that they just don't know how to get into that space, you know what I mean?
Well, the hard part is that when you go into stress, when you
Yeah.
are activated, the part of your brain responsible for creativity, reasoning, problem solving, logic, and language
Yeah.
is there's less resources going to that. So
Yeah.
all of our wiring is focused on surviving. And so, yeah, what we really want to do, what these nervous system tools are doing, what
Yeah.
these body tools are doing, what our connection with others, what we're doing with that is we're trying to signal safety to the nervous system so that it knows, okay, we can relax. Okay, we can let go a little bit, and then your logic and reasoning and creative brain can come back online.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite tool that you like to use? You don't have to share everything with us, but do you have something that
Oh,
that's like your favorite thing you do to help you kind of reset?
I love sharing. I do not hold anything
I
under
love it.
wraps.
You can share away then. I'm totally cool with that.
I think that there's two that kind of come to mind just off the top of my head that I love. And the first one, I just want people to like bear with me because it is a breath work. It
Yeah.
is a breathing
Sure.
exercise because I know that when you're stressed and someone says to you, just take a breath, there's like often nothing
Right.
worse that anyone can say to
You're
you.
like, I don't want to take a
I
breath.
don't want to take a breath. What do you mean? But I
I'm
think that
breathing
if you,
fast. You're already breathing, right?
yeah, I'm busy breathing. What is helpful is to understand the science behind this type of breath, because then what you can do is you can start to build this into your day, and you probably already are using it. The science is that if we extend our exhalation, we lower the heart rate and we signal safety to the nervous system. It is that down regulating
Yeah.
that you're talking about. And so the tool that I like is called the Physiological Sigh. And basically what you do is you take a deep inhale in, and then one more little inhalation at the top, and then a long
I
exhalation.
kind of just did that, I think.
Yeah, I watched you.
Yeah.
And you know, what will happen is if you start doing it, you'll notice that you do it during times of stress. And we all do, because do you sigh when something happens? Like, we often will just give a sigh. That's exactly, it's
Right.
the nervous system activating that. And the physiological sigh, the piece, the double inhalation, we do that when we cry. Like a,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
you're
That's the
right.
pattern.
You're
That's
right.
part of the pattern of crying. And so I think it's just a beautiful practice. And the other piece that's wonderful is if you're doing that around someone else, if you're extending your exhalations around someone else, their nervous system will naturally start to match that. And so
Mm,
instead of saying to
good.
someone that's activated, just take a breath, you could take a breath instead, specifically focusing on your
Yeah, I
exhale.
love it.
Yes,
Wow.
that's one
Yeah,
of
I
my
love it.
favorites. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's easy
for
to
sure.
do. It's really just awareness.
It's
It's
free,
just paying attention. Yeah. It's
for
just paying attention.
sure.
I think so much of this stuff is really just being aware, right? It's like just
Mhm.
my big thing this year, it's fun. You're gonna love it. My big thing this year is pause. That's my big word for
Awesome.
2026 because I get going really, really hard. And then sometimes I'm like, Jennifer, you just need to pause. Just stop for a moment and pause.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like that. I've done a lot of, I studied transcendental meditation, and then I'm familiar with some
Mm.
of the breathing stuff. When I was going through some really hard times, I was doing a lot of box breathing. And that stuff is so powerful because when you're in those states where you're like needing a lot, you really can feel the power of that breathing. But I do want to say something because you have a really warm energy today. And it's so funny because a lot of times when I get on these calls with calm people, like, I'm really good at being a chameleon. That's what I tell people. I can typically mirror people pretty well, but I will get on these I always laugh. I get on these calls with my, I say the DISC, my DI people, but a lot of them I think are neurodivergent. It's like
Yeah.
a ping pong match. I am exhausted when I get off of these calls. And they are fun, they're exhilarating, but it is like a ping pong match back and forth. But you are good because I think you're in a way similar because you're working on this, you've mastered the art of being able to be present and show up with the right
Oh,
energy, you know what I
thank
mean?
you.
It's not all perfect, I get it, because none of us are
No,
perfect, right?
none
But
of it is.
I'm feeling the energy, so I'm telling you because I feel calm with you today, which is really good.
Well, I love to hear that. And I
Yeah.
think that it is something that obviously I am working on, right? But what I
Yeah,
want to say to everyone when they hear that is you do not have to be perfectly calm to do this work. You do
no,
not have to be perfectly calm to be
right.
supportive to other people. In fact, what you really need to be is authentic. And that looks like, hey, I'm having a tough day today. I'm really tired. And
Right.
I'm going to tell you that because you're going to be able to tell. We are reading each other's nervous systems
Mhm.
all day. You're going to be able to tell that something's going on for me. And I want you to know that that's not about you. That's a me thing.
Exactly.
And so it's actually the authenticity part that people connect to.
Right.
And what it does is it shows you, like, I'm using a tool, right? Like I'm breathing or I'm doing something to, maybe sometimes when I'm with my clients, I'll do something like this, like I'll squeeze the two sides of my arms and I might alternate the two sides because that's activating left and right. And the deep pressure touch is down regulating as well. And my clients might see me do that. They'll see me using a tool. And how powerful is that, right?
Yeah, no, it's good, and that goes back to showing how you show up, right? At the end of the day, that's really how you show up. Yeah, I'm big on this work, and I agree. It's. I tell people it's kind of like learning, like maybe like karate or CPR or something, where you keep working at it. You don't stop doing the stuff because the more you practice these tools, it's never. None of us are 100% good at that. Meaning, I don't always not reactively respond to something. But what I will tell you is that I'm much better now today than maybe, a year ago, 5 years ago. I find myself often now when I get into tough situations, remember that word pause I just told you? I find myself going, am I reacting right now? Do I really need to say this? Or am I reacting and I'm trying to throw something out there because I'm being irresponsible right now? Like I had something good. I'll give you a great example with my daughter being in Thailand. Like she's 9,000 miles away from me. I've got her on location, so I know where she's at, but there's no control in that. You know that, right? And the only reason that I do that is it's more of like I'm not even checking it. It's more of just so I know where she's at across the world, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But my point I'm trying to tell you is yesterday I started getting, sort of worked up about something and I wanted to text her and be like, hey, like I started to feel the motherly instinct. And then I just said, no, I paused. I just sent her a text and I just said, hi, Paige. I said, Paige, I just wanted to say, hi, I love you. And I left it alone at that. You know what I mean? Because I knew that I was starting to be reactive about something. And my inclination was to text her and be like, hey, I'm reading this or this and be careful. And, I wanted to go into this whole, and then I thought, what good is that gonna do to her? That's just gonna get her, make her work. She's having a good time. Just let her relax. And you know what I mean? So my point to that is the more that you practice this work, I think you get better at becoming aware of these emotional things or reactions that you do. And you can actually think and pause without being reactive. You can go, okay, am I doing this for me or somebody else? Or is my ego reacting to this or my fear reacting to this, and the same goes. Yeah.
Nobody does that. Nobody does that 100% of the time.
No,
Like,
no.
what I would say is what you've just described is
Mhm.
the gold dust.
Yeah.
That's like
It's been the practice.
celebration, right? Like that's the most we can all hope for, because I actually think that some of these patterns stay with us, right?
Oh, they
That is
do.
perhaps that is
Yeah. Yeah.
my lesson for this lifetime is
Mhm.
this particular experience. And
Mhm.
what I can hope for is that then when it comes up, I have that little space, that pause that you're talking about. I think
Mhm.
that's incredible. It's
Yeah.
our reaction time, it's our response, it's how quickly we can turn things around. That's
Yeah.
that's where we measure it, really.
Yeah, and it's not 100%. You're right. It's not because there are we all get into moments where we respond or the brain, like takes over. But that's the thing I think what I was getting at is it's just this the more you do the more you work on yourself, the being, the you, the better you get at navigating those emotions. And I'm okay with saying I'm angry or upset about something. I have no
Exactly.
problem. It has nothing to do with you. I'll be like, I'm upset. I don't like this. I asked my husband, I have no problem stating how I feel about things, but I do think that the more you do that, I think you get freer with accepting yourself, people, the circumstances, and you can process so much better. You know what I mean?
Right. And the value of being able to repair in a relationship. We talked about relationship. Let's just say
Yeah.
that you had messaged your daughter and being like,
Yes.
I'm freaking out about this or whatever.
Right.
There's sometimes, and I work with parents a lot, so I'll use this as an example,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
sometimes the repair of that situation is more valuable than getting it right the first time. Isn't
That
that
is
so
true.
freeing to
That
know
is so
as a
true.
parent that
Yep.
because actually what we learn in repair with our parents or in our relationships is a secure attachment. I learned that we can experience these
Just
difficult
sighed.
emotions together. We can experience these difficult emotions
Right.
together and we will survive. Like our
Yeah.
relationship will survive that. Our connection stays. Like mom gets anxious. She gets worried about something. Maybe it looks like anger. Really, it's anxiety and it's fear
Right.
underneath the anger, right? Mom feels like that. And we stay together. We stay connected. And
Right.
that's why that repair piece is so important and so beautiful.
Yeah. No, I agree, and thank you for stating that because I do agree, and you're right. It's how repair is what keeps things connected, people connected, and when people
Mhm.
don't have that repair, that's when you have those breakdowns because there's no coming back together to really talk about or work through what we've been talking about here, the challenge, right? The thing,
Mhm.
whatever it was. So I love that. I love what you're doing, and I think it's it's important work. So, I wish my hope is that, more people lean into this, and that's like I said, that's why we talk about it on here because it really is. I think a lot of problems could be solved if people would work on this stuff we're talking about
Mhm,
right now. A lot of world problems. I think a lot of problems could be solved.
mhm.
People would stop acting selfishly and I mean, again, it's not 100% perfect, but I think if more people were leading with this stuff we're talking about, they would show up with more empathy, curiosity. There would be less of this shutting down and all of the things where we don't want to hear what other people say because they don't agree with us or whatever, all the
Yeah.
things. So I
Can
love
you
it.
imagine? Be a
Yeah.
beautiful
It'd be a
world.
different world for sure,
Different
wouldn't it?
world.
I know. I feel like you and I and probably all the people that do our work probably sit back and go, why does it have to be so hard? If you guys would just shut your mouth and stop talking once in a while and just pause. Just pause for a minute and think about what you say. You might solve a problem.
Yeah.
Never that easy, but you and I, it's so funny. I have these conversations with people, and it's like, yeah, you just, I look, I had a gal on a long time ago that was and she's still doing her work, but she has this really or like really it's like CBD products, but they're like she
Mhm.
has like massive organic farms. I mean, it's a
Wow.
big thing, like white papers, everything. But I remember us talking about problems and she was like, it's really quite simple. I feel like I have like the answers to all the
Wow.
problems. I'm like, me, we all do. We have them. We just know it. Most of it's a people problem, really, at the end of the
Yeah.
day. It just comes down to people not,
Yeah.
using emotional intelligence to interact, you know?
And it's hard. And we kind of have to like remind ourselves then they're all doing the best they can,
This
like
too.
with what
Yes,
they've got. And we've got
that's
to
right.
find somewhere that compassion in our heart. And it's
Yep,
hard.
I am with you on that one. I love it. But I want to switch gears just a little bit because we talked a lot about your work, and I love that. I want to
Mm.
talk about you a little bit in this space and, doing this work because I feel like you're kind of like me in the sense that this is really us too. We're doing parts of us while we're doing this. And so I would love to know, just some, and you've kind of layered some things in, but maybe some professional insights as far as like what you've learned about yourself in this body of work and what you love about it.
Mm. Wow. What a question. I love it. I I think that we do the work that we need most in our lives. I really do. I think it's no accident that I ended up doing this work and that I'm drawn to the things I am drawn to. My field is actually very broad, but I've landed in this very little specific niche area, and it's no accident. I think the thing that I have learned the most is how bidirectional this work is. And what I mean by that is that I am as impacted by my clients as I hope they are by the work that I do with them. I am changed through that as well. And so it isn't the more work I do on myself, the more impactful I am in my sessions because I'm not a blank canvas showing up. I am a human being with a nervous system, and my nervous system is communicating with you, and we're having a conversation all the time. It's not like I'm this blank picture coming into the room. And so I am impacted by them and they are impacted by me. And I think that's really cool and challenging a lot of the time, but I embrace it for sure.
I love it. Yeah, no, I think we learn by helping others, right? Like you learn this. It's like, do you want to learn something? Just teach somebody else, right? And I was in Mary
Exactly.
Kay for like 22 years, and we always had to, as people were starting to move up. Like I was in the leadership. The leadership role is like the top 2% of the company. So we were leading. I'll say managing, leading teams of women, and as people would move up, they would fill in these roles of training others. And so the whole premise was, right, they're learning, and the way when they're learning, they're learning by teaching other people. And so I run a networking group here, and I kind of model it after that same premise of like they want to teach. I'm like, fine, you can train on anything you want as long as it pertains to something that would be important to us as business owners. Like, that's still very broad, right? But the idea is they get their leadership skills from getting up in front of people and talking,
Mm.
right? But they also get to train on things that are important to them and they're learning in the process, so it's like a win-win
Cool.
all the way around,
Oh, so
So
cool.
yeah,
I
it's,
love
it's
stuff like
awesome.
that.
So one of the things I always like to do is kind of the challenge side of things, like moving into this space, because I don't when you were kind of moving into your own space, obviously creating your business, and we got to take you back to the beginning a little bit, some of the challenges that you had to go through, because as business owners, I think we all go through things. And I had a mentor for 2 years, one of my mentors, he said, like, if you don't have a fire burning in the pit, you're probably not growing, right? Meaning something in marketing or sales or
Yeah.
something. So I'd love to know, because you're in sort of similar space I am, maybe some of the things you had to learn to work through in the beginning when you were kind of getting this business up and running for yourself. And yeah, just share with us maybe a few things one or two things that you feel like you had to work through.
I mean, I think it's ongoing, right?
Yeah, it
Like,
is. It is. It
don't
is.
let anyone tell you, any entrepreneurs tell you that they've got it figured out, because
Right.
it's a constant pivot and reevaluation and try something else. I think if I think to the beginning of my career, I think a lot of it, or beginning of my business, maybe a lot of it was around speaking more publicly around who I am and my sensitivity and my way of being wired. I think as a therapist, we've always been told to be that blank canvas and to, keep a very like strict kind of line between your personal and professional life. And while I agree with that to an extent, I also think that, like I said, I'm not a blank canvas coming into the room. And I think that sharing my own story was a risk. It is a risk. It continues to be a risk. And I believe it helps people tremendously. I think that it's much easier to relate to someone who's sharing their own struggles and their own wins and who they really are. So I think that's one piece that's definitely been a challenge that I am continued to navigate. And then I think as your business grows and as you are evolving and the things you're interested in evolves, it's the juggling piece. Like we talked about at the beginning, I
Yeah.
I love having lots of pots on the stove. I love having multiple tabs open and many things that I'm creating. And it's challenging, right?
Yeah.
Here you are up late, you're working all sorts of weird hours, and you're creating things in between clients, and you're wanting to support clients as best you can. That's always, my first priority. And so it's navigating what's the priority. Where is life taking? I say I'm very heart led, I'm very intuition
Mhm.
led. And so it's where is life taking me? And it feels like it's taking me more into speaking and teaching and creating and writing. And
Yeah.
so it's how do you balance those things?
Right. I'm
Yeah.
smiling at you because I'm feeling everything you're saying. And like yesterday, last night I have to release a podcast today and it's almost done, but I was working yesterday. And so last night at around 7 o'clock, I realized I'm like, dude, I had planned to be done with my work at 5 p.m. so I could do dinner and sit down and relax at 8. It did not happen.
No.
It never does. And no kidding, yesterday evening, this was going on. I was defrosting these wings in the microwave because I poured them out of the bag and they looked like they had been defrosted and refrozen. It was a big clump.
I
So I
know.
got them in the microwave defrosting, right? I'm on Chat GPT. I'm going back and forth. I'm on Chat GPT trying to create a thumbnail.
Yeah.
I'm moving laundry out of the dryer onto the island. This is all going on, and I'm trying to feed my cats. I'm over there trying to get the food. My husband comes out, and I'm like, "Dude, I need help. Like, can
Yeah.
you deal with the
Someone's
chicken
gonna
wings?
feed it. I'm
You
very
take
anxious
the wings."
listening.
I mean, this is my life. It's like 50
I'm
tabs open. It's
I'm the
like,
same.
and you know what? Here's the thing, to people that don't get that, they look at us and think we're like, this is how our brains work. It's
Yeah.
just the way, and this is no kidding. Like, I have said this, like, I get satisfaction out of creating things, like creating and manifest. I love ideas. I love like all of my
Yeah.
multiple business ventures, like all of them I have created. I mean, it's not that many
That's
really.
amazing.
I mean, I'm just saying
Amazing.
I've created all the logos. I've created
Oh,
maybe my
cool.
Starter Girlz. I did get somebody help me with that logo, but most of my stuff I have put together. And I would die. I mean, that's part of the reason I left Mary Kay was because I loved Mary Kay. I loved earning the cars and stuff, but that wasn't my product. I didn't create any of that. I had to sell somebody else's stuff. And not that it's bad. I just wanted my own things. So this whole idea you're talking about, this just having all these things going and being okay with that, because I don't know about you, but I get a lot. I get this mostly, I'm going to be honest, I get this mostly from women more than I do men. Men look at it and go, well, you're just a badass. Like, you got a lot of things going on. Power to you, girl. Go for
What
it,
do you
right?
do? Wow.
But then I get a lot of feedback from women because they'll look at my stuff and they're like, gosh, you do a lot. Are you like, like I get a lot of this negative energy and and so talking to your point about the being okay with who you are, that is something that took me a really long time because I would make excuses, and I just realized that is the way my brain is wired to work, and it's okay. Like, I'm fine with it. If I enjoy it, it's not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
If it hurts somebody, that's a different story, but it's not. And, and I
And
think,
people are always going to have opinions.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. But I want to say to you, congratulations in recognizing that, and because and that's hard for a lot of people is to accept who they are. Like, that's a work in progress,
It's
But
a work in progress for sure.
yes, but having all that stuff you're talking about, the tabs, all of that, girl, listen, it is all good. I get you. I hear you, and I know there are many listeners right now that are probably listening to this and saying, thank you for somebody saying we can have lots of
Somebody
tabs
else.
open and lots of
Yeah,
activities going on, and it is okay to be that way?
for sure. I used to think that productivity and work looked like, one task, staying
Right.
focused when I was supposed to be focused at a desk, just quiet. And it just didn't work for me. I just don't
Yeah.
work like that, And so I'm learning. But I will say that I think it's going a lot better than it used to, and I'm a lot better at using the pockets of time and just accepting I am going to be switching between tasks. What you just described about your dinner last night, so
It was
relatable.
hilarious, isn't it? Is that not like for somebody who would say they're going to be like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm like that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there are
And
many
to other
other people.
people, it looks absolutely like chaos. My partner is like, "What? Can we please do one thing at a time?" Because he's not like that.
Yeah.
When I describe that to him,
My
he's like,
husband's
"No,
not either. Yeah.
it's like he's like
Not on
that's
that
not how
part.
you do it."
He's
Yeah.
the different part. He's got ADHD. It's the different part. Like, mine is just I have multiple things going all of the time. I mean, last week I have a pet sitting business too. Last week was spring break here for us. It was insane because I had those going on. I was recording podcasts. I was releasing podcasts. I doing planning this thing over here. I'm trying to get ready to go on a trip. Like, I got notes like all over the place, to-do lists with different to-do lists. So, the getting ready to leave to-do list, the items I need to buy before we need to go, the things that need to be done in my business before I leave. I mean, there's a list everywhere for
Yeah.
so.
So
But,
relatable.
it's good, and I love this conversation because I think it's a very good conversation. One last question I want to ask you real quick. For anybody listening in right now, you already kind of layered in a bunch of things that people need to do, but what's one good advice we would give for somebody maybe like right here that's listening to this and going, okay, I am that tab open person, and I'm that multitasker doing it all, and maybe something we talked about techniques, but anything to inspire them to, I guess, keep moving and be okay with it.
Yeah, I think the first step is to accept, that perhaps that's how you are wired. Perhaps you do better with using pockets of time and finding ways to multitask and doing the multiple things at once. What I've tried to do is figure out like which types of tasks I can do at which times and kind of like batch things a little bit in that way. And then also to know that I need space to do deep dives as well. You know how we
Yeah.
talked about like understanding something from
Yep.
every corner and inside out? I also need that space. So I need space to like flitter between different things and then I need space where I can go deep as well and giving myself that space and then also having space purposefully for nothing. And that's hard for people like us because we're like, how can I maximize every moment? Like I can do the 17 things, but our brain really needs space to decompress and to have nothing. And actually, that's where we do our best thinking. You know, if you've ever been on a walk and suddenly had like this answer to a big problem or a wonderful idea in the shower, that's because our brain needs the space for nothingness. We actually solve our problems the best when we're in that state. And so I think intentionally making space for that, whether it is going for a walk or doing art, like just making something for the sake of making it, not for the finished product, and just having that space. I think if we can create that, then we are truly winning.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think this is so good, and I love everything that you said. This has been awesome. I know we could chat forever about this stuff because I think it's so
Yeah, we
important.
could.
Thank you for sharing all of that great information, Nikki.
Thank
So
you.
anyone listening today, I'm sure there are going to be some people that want to, follow you or keep up with your work, or maybe they want to do a little more, deep diving into you and the stuff that you're, all of the content you're putting out there. Where would you like us to send them?
So the best place to follow my work is on Instagram. I hang out there the most. So lots of free content there, lots of great resources. I have a bi-weekly newsletter that you can sign up to through there where I kind of do deeper dives. And yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well. My stuff goes over there too. But yeah, those are the best places to find me.
Is the Insta, or are those under your name, all of that under your
Yes,
name? Okay.
Nikki. So it's Nikki Smit Therapy is my Instagram.
Perfect. I'm going to follow you as well so I can keep up with
Yeah.
all your lovely work and what you're doing. And so we can kind of continue this conversation off on
Yeah.
the other platforms too.
We could
Love it.
definitely talk forever. So
I know. It's so
we'll have
fun
to
when
connect.
when I read the bios, when I get, like when the people are coming on, I always look at the information beforehand to get a feel for who they are. And I always love it when I'm like, oh, we got we're going to have a great conversation today. I know this already. So you already knew that before you knew that because I'd done all the homework and figured out who you were and all that good stuff. But I want to say thank you for what you're doing and, in your body of work, but also thank you for sharing that with our audience and, leaning into this because again, it gets back to the more people we can, get to hear this stuff. It's always really for me, to add to what I said early on, if we can spark the curiosity and get somebody thinking, exploring and saying, maybe they don't agree with everything we say on here, but it might get them to actually start doing some exploration. That's what I want at the end of the day is people just exploring, because you learn more knowledge when you do that, So thank you for all
Yeah.
of pouring in
Thank
today and
you.
all of your good wisdom.
Thank you. What a beautiful mission you've got. I've loved connecting with you.
Thank
Thank you.
Awesome. We do want to say to our audience, of course, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, if you found this episode inspiring, we hope you did, and informative, you know what to do. All the things. First of all, follow Nikki. But go hit all the other buttons, the like, the share, the subscribe, the comment, so that we can keep sharing all of this information with you. And you know what I'm going to say to you? In order to live the extraordinary, you got to start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.